Sequoia, their own constitution, much like the United States. Before the Indian Removal Act, the Cherokee had been recognized by the government as their own nation, though the state of Georgia didn't quite see it that way. The Cherokee had a lot going for them, such as an alphabet in their own language by the Cherokee scholar Sequoia, their own constitution, much like the United States' own, and their own day-by-day newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix. In 1828, gold was found on Cherokee land. Hundreds of white men started setting up camp near there, pushing them farther and farther west. In 1830, the Indian Removal Act was passed, allowing the government to pay Native Americans for their land and then relocate them to a reservation in Oklahoma, which was at the time thought of not to be suitable for white men because the land was hard to farm. The Cherokee were divided in between those who wanted to leave the Treaty Party and those who refused to give up the land of their forefathers, the Ross Party, named for their chief, John Ross, who wanted to reach an agreement with the government to keep their land. Most people supported the Ross Party. So the Cherokee went to court and tried to sue the state of Georgia, arguing that, since they were a separate nation, the United States did not have a right to take their land. Ironically, the court would not accept their case because they were a separate nation. He was the 7th President of the United States. Andrew Jackson was one of our most controversial presidents. Some say he was the father of our democracy and a great man for bringing people into the idea of a democratic government. Others say he was an uneducated, ill-tempered, vengeful man determined to have his way, regardless of the impact on the Constitution or on American democracy. John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. That was one of his most famous quotes. His support for and reinforcement of the Indian Removal Act was a shameful period in American history. Thesis statement. President Jackson's acts of criminal disobedience of the Supreme Court's decision were responsible for the broken hearts and lost lives along the Trail of Tears. Early history and conflict. The Cherokee land was originally in modern-day Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama. Their first contact with Europeans was with Hernando de Soto and his troops in 1540. In the early 1600s, the Cherokee began trading with the British colonists. They traded animal skins for things such as guns, cloth, glass, and tools. Trade changed the Cherokee culture immensely. They didn't need to hunt and farm to survive anymore. They could simply trade what they had for even better things. They fought alongside the British in both the French and Indian War and the Revolutionary War. When the Americans won the war, they took away some of the Cherokees' land for their own towns and villages. History contributing to the Trail of Tears. Before the Indian Removal Act, the Cherokee had been recognized by the government as their own nation, though the state of Georgia didn't quite see it that way. The Cherokee had a lot going for them, such as
these mountains were home to the Cherokee, but they were just a small piece of their vast nation, which covered 40,000 square miles here in the Appalachian Mountains. In 1819, as more and more Americans started encroaching on Indian land, the U.S. government signed a treaty that guaranteed that Cherokee land would be off limits to white settlers forever. It clearly stated, all white people who have intruded or may hereafter intrude on the lands reserved for the Cherokees shall be removed by the United States. Confident that the U.S. government now recognized its sovereignty over its own lands, the Cherokee Nation proceeded to build itself a new capital in 1825, here in what's known as New Echota, Georgia. It had its own courthouse, council house, and post office, and even space for the first Indian-language newspaper office in the nation. In 1829, Andrew Jackson was elected U.S. President. He believed that Native Americans were savages and had no rights to their land, and began proceedings to remove the Cherokee from the southern states to clear the way for white settlement. The next year, he signed the 1830 Indian Removal Act, which set in motion one of the most brutal actions ever taken by the U.S. government. Thousands of Native Americans were pulled from their homes in Georgia and other states across the South. Many were shackled in chains and forced to walk at gunpoint more than 1,000 miles west on a series of routes that all led to Oklahoma. Up to a third of the 15,000 Cherokee who were forced to make the journey died on the way, which is one reason that journey came to be known as the Trail of Tears. Their descendants are known today as the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and live here on sovereign Indian land in Cherokee, North Carolina. Today, young Cherokee here at the local high school learn the language of their forebears. A vast stretch of their tribe's former land, right next to town, is now the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the most visited national park in the nation. Alright, Shalom. This is Canucks Anban Yashara from the GMS Lions Den Camp. First and foremost, I'd like to say Kyle Halayim, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harikakadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutation to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. But peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Alright, it's a slight delay, but this is part 3 of my Thanksgiving lesson. This really doesn't have too much to do with Thanksgiving, but what it is just because the Native Americans lended a helping hand to Esau. The repercussions behind it was them being pushed back and made to live on reservations. And what started that is the Trail of Tears. All right, this is when they were forcing the Native Americans, Gad and Reuben, to relocate to wherever the so-called white man, which is Esau and the devil, pushed them back to go. All right, that's why they call it the Trail of Tears, 'cause, and, and not only that, they were giving them blankets, and on those blankets, all right, those blankets were infested with smallpox. All right, so not only were they forced to relocate, a lot of them died from diseases that was given to them by the so-called white man. Just let you know that he's the devil, man. All right. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5, it says, Yea, well, it started 4. It says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. All right. It says, Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man. Who was the proud man he's talking about? Esau, the devil. All right. Neither keepeth at home. What did he do? He enlarges his borders. All right. And who enlarges his desires as hell and is as death. He brought hell and death upon our brothers, man, the Native Americans, Gad and Reuben. All right? So that's why we shouldn't even be celebrating these wicked-ass holidays that was set up by this devil. All right? It says, and cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations and heap unto him all people. All right? So that's just it. And, because he's greedy, Jacob's having to pay for the greed of Esau. But it's mainly our fault for us not listening, and Yahweh used Esau as the whooping stick, all right, to punish us because we didn't want to abide by the law, statutes, and commandments, all right. All right, this is Genesis 49 and 19. It says, Gad, a troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last, all right. And that troop that shall overcome him is those troops that came from Esau, man, when they took this land from Gad and Reuben, man. All right, and destroyed the people, man. And matter of fact, when it says back in Habakkuk, when it says though he transgresses by wine, for he's a all right, let me find it real quick. It says,
Habakkuk 2 and 5 again. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. All right, because Gad has a real serious drinking problem now due to the hands of Esau, man. Because they used to get him drunk. Like, alcoholism is one of the number one deaths to Gad and Reuben, because that from the influence by Esau, man. And not only did they physically get him drunk, but they got him drunk off philosophy too. All right. Well, that's what this devil does. He's greedy, right, and wants everything for himself. And doesn't matter how he get it, he'll pillage, rob, rape, steal, and kill. It doesn't matter to him. All right. All right. So let me get into this. It says the Trail of Tears. I said the Trail of Tears was a series of forced relocations of Native American people from their ancestral homeland in the southeastern United States to areas to the west, usually west of Mississippi River, that had been designated as Indian territory. The forced relocations were carried out by government authorities following the passage of the Indian Removal Act in 1830. The relocated people suffered the exposure of disease and starvation while en route to their new designated reserve, and many died before reaching their destination. The forced removals included members of the Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, all right, or Creek, Chippewa, or Kiowa, and Poncha, and Ho-Chunk and Winnebago nations. The phrase Trail of Tears originates from a description of the removal of many Native American tribes, including the infamous Cherokee Indian relocation in 1838. Alright? So, this devil forced our brothers Reuben and Gad out of their land, which their true land is the land of Israel, but they came over here fleeing from an Assyrian captivity. Alright? So when they got over here, like, this just goes to show you, because we did a lesson the other day at camp, when dude was talking about how we're supposed to go to Israel 3 times a year like he did. But that just shows you, no matter where you go, if Most High has judgment for you, it's gonna follow you. All right, that's just it. All right, so more on the little article. It says the Ho-Chunk Nation, Winnebago, were surrounded with cannons ready, then forcibly removed at gunpoint. The first of 5 Trail of Tears for the Ho-Chunk Nation, Winnebago, was to Iowa. Their 5th Trail of Tears accumulated in Nebraska at the current location of the Winnebago Reservation. All right, between 1830 and 1850, the Chickasaw and Choctaw, Creek, Seminole, and Cherokee people, including mixed race and black slaves who lived among them, were forcibly removed from their traditional lands in the southeastern United States, all right, and relocated to further west. Those Native Americans who were relocated were forced to march to their destination by state and local militias. The Cherokee removal in 1838, the last forced removal east of the Mississippi, was brought on by the discovery of gold near Dahlonega, Georgia. All right, in 1828. In the Georgia Gold Rush, approximately 2,000 to 8,000 of the 16,543 relocated Cherokee perished along the way. All right. So anytime this devil wants to increase his desires, he increases it as hell. He brings hell and death on people, man, when he increases his desires and his want. That's why he has to be taken out of the way, man. All right. That's why he has to be taken out of the way. All right. I ain't gonna make this too long, but with that being said, I want to give all glory and praise. Say Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba Hashem Harakakodash Ma'amath. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and salutations to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.